Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the glomerular filtration barrier. In this discussion, we are going to cover about the components of the glomerular filtration barrier and also what are the functions and significance of the glomerular filtration barrier. Before discussion on the components of the glomerular filtration barrier, I would like to discuss about the structure of the glomerulus. In this diagram, showing the glomerulus, which consists of sets of capillaries, and it is considered the filtration unit within the kidney. Also showing here blood flow to the glomerulus through the efferent arteriole, whereby filtration is occur within the glomerulus into Bowman's space, and blood will be drained into the efferent arteriole. For any solute to be filtered from the blood into the Bowman's space, it is required to pass through the glomerular filtration barrier. Here in this diagram, showing parts of the glomerular filtration barrier. And this barrier consists of three components. From inner part into the outer part, the first layer consists of endothelial cells of the glomerular capillaries, endothelial cells. The second layer is the glomerular basement membrane, and the third layer is the epithelial cells, or also called podocytes. Again, I'm repeating the components of the glomerular filtration barrier. The first layer is the endothelial cells. The second layer is the glomerular basement membrane, and the third layer is the epithelial cells or podocytes. Now, for any substance, whether it is glucose, whether it is protein or urea, for any solute, for any substance to be diffused through the glomerular filtration barrier, it's required two factors. The first factor is the molecular size of the substance, molecular size. Again, what is molecular size? Whether the molecular size is large or small. Of course, smaller molecular size are able to diffuse through the filtration membrane, and larger molecular size will be unable to diffuse through the filtration membrane. The second factor is the electrical charges of the substance, whether they are negatively charged, whether they are neutral, or they are positively charged. Simply, those of positive charge molecule and neutral charge, they are easily to be passed through the filtration barrier. However, those of negatively charged molecule, they are unable and they will be repelled by the glomerular filtration barrier. Again, I'm recap on this point. Larger molecular weight and negatively charged molecule, they are unable to pass through the glomerular filtration barrier. However, those with smaller molecular weight and positively charged or neutral charge, they are able to diffuse through the glomerular filtration barrier. Now, we shall be discussing about the characteristic of each layer. The first layer we are going to introduce is the endothelial cells. There are two characteristics associated with the endothelial cells. The first features, these cells are fenestrated. They do contain gaps between these cells. is about 70 nanometer. So the first features, these cells are fenestrated, porous, and the second features, these cells having negatively charged glycoprotein within the cell membrane contain negatively charged glycoprotein such as podoclysine and heparan sulfate. And these are very important features as they don't allow plasma protein to be diffused through the filtration barrier. Since they are negatively charged molecules within the endothelial cells, they repel those plasma protein which are also negatively charged. So, such as in this example, albumin, although it is small molecule, it may pass through the size of the endothelial cells, but since they consist of the negatively charged glycoproteins, so they will be repelled and unable to diffuse through the filtration barrier. Now the second layer we are going to introduce is the glomerular basement membrane. And again, what are the features of this layer? They consist of three parts. The first part is, which is the inner part here, is the lamina rara interna, and then next is the lamina densa, and the third layer is the outer layer is the lamina rara externa. All these layers consist of the collagen type 4 and also some other proteoglycan and glycoprotein. All these layers consist of the collagen type 4 and some other proteoglycan. There are many diseases affecting the glomerular basement membrane. One of them is Alport syndrome. What is Alport syndrome? Alport syndrome is X-linked disorder whereby there is malformation of the collagen type 4 within the GBM, within the glomerular basement membrane. In Alport syndrome, this is inherited disorder whereby there is thinning of the GBM and malformation of the GBM. So those children with Alport syndrome, they will born with high level of proteinuria as well as hematuria. And this might result in kidney failure. The last layer we discuss about is the epithelial cells or podocytes. These podocytes contain food processes which wrap around the glomerulus. So the first feature, they consist of food processes, and then between these food processes they are a filtration slit diaphragm whereby molecules should pass through this filtration slit diaphragm. This filtration slit diaphragm consists of types of protein such as nephrin and podocin. These proteins have a significant importance, especially in terms of disease such as congenital nephrotic syndrome. In congenital nephrotic syndrome, this child born with malformation of the filtration slit because of the abnormalities of the gene that encodes the protein nephrin or podocin. So there will be malformation of the filtration slit. So the child born with high protein in the urine, which is proteinuria, as well as hematuria, edema, and this also might result in kidney failure. To summarize, we have been discussing about the glomerular filtration barrier, and we realized that glomerular filtration barrier consists of three layers. The innermost layer is the endothelial cells of glomerular capillaries, followed by glomerular basement membrane or GBM, and the outermost layer consists of epithelial cells or podocytes. And also we have introduced the features of the endothelial cells, and we realize that these cells are fenestrated. They contain gap between them, and also they consist of negatively charged molecule glycoprotein, and we realize the importance of this layer is to repel plasma protein such as albumin. The next layer we discuss is glomerular basement membrane, and also these are divided into three layers: lamina rara interna, the inner part, followed by lamina densa, followed by the outer layer is the lamina rara externa. All these three layers consist of collagen type 4 and some other proteoglycan. And with reference to the GBM, we have discussed the Alport syndrome, which is inherited disorder, X-linked disease, the child born with malformation of the type 4 collagen. And this will result in weakening and thinning of the GBM, and the child born with the proteinuria, hematuria, and even will result in kidney failure. The third layer we have discussed is the epithelial cells or podocytes, and we know the features of these. They are photoprocesses, and then they consist between them spaces which contain filtration slits. These filtration slits consist of proteins such as nephrin and podocins. And again, with reference to that, we have discussed about congenital nephrotic syndrome, whereby this disease, there are mutation in the genes that produce either nephrin or podocin. So there will be defect in the filtration slit diaphragm, and this child will born with high amount of protein in the urine, which is proteinuria, as well as hematuria, edema, and kidney failure. Thank you very much.